Most people think focus is just a productivity hack, like downloading a new app, writing a longer to-do list, or drinking 2 more cups of coffee. But the truth is, focus isn't just about doing more in less time. Focus, when used properly, is domination. It's a psychological grip on the chaos around you. It's not a timer you set, it's a weapon you unsheathe. Niccolò Machiavelli never said the word dopamine detox. He didn't start his mornings with breathwork and a gratitude journal. But he understood something modern gurus miss entirely. That a mind divided is a mind defeated. The moment your attention leaks, your power does too. The average person isn't lacking intelligence, they're just distracted. Not unmotivated, but overcommitted. Their potential hasn't died. It's been drowned in noise. And Machiavelli's rule is clear. What is dispersed is weak. What is concentrated becomes a force of nature. You don't need more. You need less, strategically less. Most people think focus comes from stacking routines, optimizing schedules, color-coding priorities. But Machiavelli would laugh. He understood that focus starts with subtraction, not adding more, but removing ruthlessly. You're not overwhelmed because you're incapable. You're overwhelmed because you said yes too many times, to too many people, projects, and half-baked dreams. Cut 90% of it. Delete the goals that look good on paper but mean nothing to your mission. Say no, not politely but decisively, to time thieves disguised as friends or opportunities. Eliminate the illusion that you can be great at everything. Pick one battlefield, one domain, and commit to it with violent singularity. When you focus on one thing hard enough, other things begin to move around you. You stop chasing outcomes. You become the gravitational force. Like a lion stalking one target, you become dangerous, not because you do a lot, but because you do one thing with terrifying precision. Machiavelli advised rulers to imitate both the fox and the lion. The fox avoids traps. The lion eliminates threats. In your case, the traps are apps, pings, likes, little dopamine sugar hits pretending to be urgent, and the threat, it's indecision. It's dabbling. It's a day filled with shallow actions and empty effort. Most people spend their lives like tourists wandering from one notification to the next, hoping something meaningful will happen along the way. But you're not here to be a tourist. You're here to conquer, to design your day like a sovereign designs a kingdom. Strategically, with boundaries that don't just protect your focus, but enforce it. That means cutting availability. Stop being reachable. Stop being polite with your energy. You owe people kindness, not access. Machiavelli knew that silence creates power, that the more visible and accessible you are, the more easily you're controlled. The prince who keeps people guessing, he commands fear and respect. Let's get tactical. Turn off 90% of your notifications. Set aside hours where you disappear, literally vanish. No replies, no scrolling, no digital small talk. Let people feel your absence, because in that space they begin to notice your value. Absence creates demand. Presence, when overused, dilutes it. Deep focus isn't just a mindset, it's a physical space you create around yourself. A territory where your mind can operate without invasion. Machiavelli would call it territorial control of the mind, a psychological fortress. Inside it, you don't explain yourself, you don't apologize for your silence, you just build. Relentlessly, consistently, and while the world scrolls, reacts, and refreshes, you sharpen your craft. Quietly, you become cold to the noise and warm to the work. Now here's where it gets interesting. Focus is not just about productivity, it's about pressure. Real, manufactured pressure. Machiavelli believed that necessity drives action, that comfort creates softness, and softness leads to defeat. If your life feels easy, your focus is probably dying. So you create artificial urgency. Set a deadline so brutal you feel fear. Make a public promise you can't walk back. Tell the world you're launching something in 30 days. Now your reputation is on the line. Your ego is the collateral. You have no choice but to act. This isn't motivational fluff, it's psychological warfare. You're setting traps for your weaker self. No escape route. No safe backup. Just action. Pressure purifies attention the way fire purifies gold. Most people wait for inspiration to strike. But Machiavelli wouldn't wait. He'd strike first. He knew that action doesn't come from motivation. It comes from consequences. So create them. Bet money on your execution. Attach stakes to your timeline. Let your name be on the line, not just your intention. And when you wake up tomorrow, don't ask, how can I balance my life? Ask, how can I dominate my priorities, control over balance, always? Because balance is often a disguise for hesitation, a softer way of saying I'm not fully committed. And you know what Machiavelli would say to that? He'd say the prince who hesitates dies. Let's keep going. Because once you cut distraction, once you impose pressure, there's still one more step: violence. Not towards others, but toward distraction itself. See, most people try to tame distraction. They want to coexist with it. They want to manage their phone usage, negotiate with their dopamine habits. Machiavelli would tell you that's absurd. You don't manage an enemy. You eliminate it. Coldly, relentlessly, without apology. Uninstall the apps. Block the sites. Delete the accounts that feed you, poison disguised as connection. This isn't overkill. It's necessary. You're not building a routine. You're building an empire, and empires aren't built by checking Instagram every 20 minutes. Design your day like a dictator. Ruthless, strategic, intolerant of drift. Every hour must submit to your will. Every task must serve the mission. You can have joy, sure, but only if it serves your growth. This isn't about suffering, it's about sovereignty. Because the powerful don't chase time, they command it. They carve reality around their vision. And that begins by doing what most people will never do: cutting, choosing, building, and staying deadly focused. So you've declared war on distraction, built a fortress for your attention, and weaponized your schedule. But now it's time to install what Machiavelli would consider your most dangerous advantage: a mental monarchy. A state where no thought wanders without permission, where every impulse is subject to interrogation. You're not just organizing your life, you're ruling it. With power comes responsibility, and focus demands a ruler, not a roommate, a tyrant, not a tourist. And that tyrant's job is to enforce one thing: purpose. You must make your mind a loyal soldier, not a scattered civilian. This means when your thoughts drift, you don't just notice, you respond. You punish the drift, pull it back. Refocus. When you resist distraction, you reward yourself. When you lose the thread, you don't spiral, you return to center without apology. Your attention is a crown. Drop it for one moment and someone else picks it up, your inbox, and add an X, a meme. Machiavelli warned rulers that betrayal always begins within the palace walls. And the same is true for you. Your focus doesn't collapse because of the world, it collapses because of the rebels inside your mind. The part of you that's lazy, impulsive, emotional, addicted to validation. You must identify those voices and crush them, not negotiate, not journal about them. Crush, because if you cannot govern your own mind, you will never govern anything else. So ask yourself which thoughts deserve execution, which behaviors need exile. Every time you catch yourself drifting into useless loops, the just 5 minutes scrolls. The what did they mean by that texts the endless mind wandering. You treat it like sabotage, because it is. No nation has ever risen with weak internal security. Your brain is no different. Build an internal army. Get brutal about self-awareness, not soft mindfulness, not self-soothing. Surveillance. Monitor your energy like a military operation. Spy on your thoughts like they're planning a coup. Ask, what time of day am I sharpest? What patterns lead to my best output? What food sounds or people enhance or drain my mind? This isn't therapy. This is tactical espionage. You are not healing, you are planning a takeover. And now we install the ritual. Because no great strategist walks into battle unprepared. Ritual isn't about candles or mantras. It's a psychological trigger, a switch that tells your system, now we enter the war zone. It could be the same chair, the same coffee mug, the same playlist, the same sentence typed at the top of a blank page. It doesn't matter what it is, it matters that it tells your subconscious build or die. Machiavelli believed in appearances not for morality's sake, but for psychology. He knew that humans become what they perform, so you assume the identity of the focused. You put on the mask of obsession until it fuses with your skin. Dress like someone on a mission. Speak with economy. Move with purpose. Make people feel even before you say a word he's building something. Let others perform productivity for applause. You build in silence. You vanish for a few days, maybe weeks, and let them wonder. Because mystery is power. Let people project greatness onto your absence. That's a currency you can't buy, and when you do return, let your results speak. Not your posts, not your tweets, let your work roar in a whisper. Now let's go deeper solitude. Not isolation for sadness, but for sharpening. Most people fear being alone with their mind because they haven't trained it. They treat silence like punishment. But Machiavelli. He wrote his most dangerous ideas not in a palace, but in exile. Tortured, cast out, ignored, and that's where the prince was born. Because silence kills noise. Solitude clears the static, and in the stillness, strategy appears. You stop reacting and start architecting. No opinions, no timelines. Just pure design of thought. So schedule it, not as a break, but as a non-negotiable. Build hours, even entire days where you vanish. No messages, no social media, no external input, just you, a pen, and the skeleton of your empire. At first your mind will rebel. It'll itch for stimulation. That's good. That means the detox has begun. Stay, sit with it. Let the noise in your brain crawl out and die. Because when you learn to sit still while the world spins, you learn to control storms. Think about it. If you can master yourself in boredom, what can chaos do to you? Nothing. You become untouchable. Next, install a hierarchy. Focus is not just doing, it's knowing what not to do. Not every task deserves your attention. Not every idea deserves a place in your mind. Create 3 categories in your life: mission-critical support and forbidden. Mission-critical gets your best hours, deep undisturbed time. Support gets maintenance energy, batch them, automate them, minimize them. Forbidden is everything that doesn't serve your mission, even if it's fun, even if it's networking, even if everyone else is doing it. If it doesn't help you conquer, it doesn't enter your castle. Then collapse time. This is the secret most people never understand. Machiavelli wasn't efficient. He was intense. When he moved, it was full force, no drag, no pause. That's how you do 3 days of work in 3 hours. You attack the task like a predator. No warm-up, no checking messages, no browsing. Just war. Ask yourself, if I only had 1 hour to make maximum progress, what would I do? Then do that every single day. You'll be stunned at what happens in a week. Focus isn't about working longer. It's about removing drag, deciding fast, executing harder, acting like time is your ally, not your excuse. So here we are. You've created the fortress. You've assumed the mask. You've declared your battlefield. And now, the final twist. Because Machiavelli would warn you, focus isn't just about intensity, it's about direction. A sniper with a perfect aim is useless if he's shooting at the wrong target. And that's where most people fail. They lock in on the wrong thing. They build the wrong ladder. They chase goals that aren't aligned with their deepest power. Focus is nothing without aim. So you must now step back, zoom out, and ask, what is the throne I'm meant to build? You can become focused on triviality, obsessed with metrics that don't move your destiny, addicted to efficiency and work that should have been deleted. You can optimize yourself into irrelevance. That's not power, that's blindness. Machiavelli didn't just believe in focus, he believed in targeting, strategic positioning, channeling all attention toward a node of leverage. And that's what we'll explore next. You now understand that focus alone isn't enough. A sharp sword is useless if it's swung at shadows. What you need next is targeting. Strategic targeting. This is where the true Machiavellian system kicks in. Machiavelli didn't advise rulers to control everyone. He told them to control the key players, the nobles, the generals, the financiers. Why? Because if you control the few who control the many, you control everything. That's leverage, and it applies just as much to your personal mission. You must stop wasting focus on tasks that feel important but move nothing. You must stop chasing popularity when influence lies with a few. Focus becomes a weapon only when it's aimed at the right node, the point in the system that bends the whole thing when touched. So, what's your power node? What skill, habit, or person, if mastered, leveraged, or nurtured, would make everything else easier or irrelevant? If you're building a business, is it content creation or outreach? If you're sculpting your body, is it consistency or recovery? If you're chasing financial independence, is it negotiation or distribution? You have to find the lever, the place where one concentrated action creates exponential results. Machiavelli would never waste his time being good at everything. He would identify the kingmaker and either become it or control it. That's how kingdoms are won. Start mapping your world like a general. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your energy. Some connections open doors. Others lead nowhere. Some strategies 10x your impact. Others just make you busy. Your job is to identify the difference, to treat every opportunity like a chess piece, not a distraction. You're not trying to do more. You're trying to aim better. A sniper doesn't spray bullets. He waits. He aligns. And then one shot. Precision over pressure. Strategy over speed. Here's a way to test your aim. If you couldn't do 50 things, what's the one thing you double down on? That's usually the target. And once you have it, you shift your entire schedules, environment, and psychology around it. That becomes the center of gravity. You build your calendar around that node. Not around chores, not around convenience. You reverse engineer your entire system to serve that aim. That's how you weaponize focus. Not through intensity, but by targeting the highest leverage point and drilling into it until results explode. But now, we take it further. Because even if you've picked the right target, you can't hit it if your mind is stuffed with junk. The brain cannot focus like a predator when it's been fed like a pig. So now, you must shift how you consume. Machiavelli warned that humans are ruled by fear and appetite. And your appetite for stimulation? Novelty scrolling noise is likely ruining your edge. You can't think like a strategist if you eat like a peasant. So change how you consume. Don't read to escape. Read to reload. Don't watch for comfort, watch for patterns. Don't listen to kill time, listen to sharpen your instincts. You are not a civilian anymore. You are building an empire. That means every input must strengthen. If it doesn't, it's poison. That means no gossip, no outrage, no debates with people who aren't building anything. That means saying no to content that's designed to addict, not enlighten. And yes, this will feel like a detox. You will crave distraction like a drug. That's because it is. But when you push through that wall, when the need for noise finally dies, your attention will sharpen like a blade. You'll begin to crave clarity over chaos, substance over stimulation. And that's when you're ready to test. Because focus in the Machiavellian system is not just a habit, it's a technology. And like all tech, it must be tested, improved, and updated. You don't just push blindly. You measure, you tweak, you observe yourself like a scientist. What hours make you lethal? What routines boost or kill your rhythm? What inputs spark action? What drains it? You must document it. Not like a productivity nerd, but like a strategist training an army. Because your brain is your army. And if you train it with precision, it becomes your most dangerous weapon. Try this for 1 week. Log what distracts you. Log when you drift and what triggered it. Don't judge, just observe. Like a spy. You'll start to see patterns, and when you see them, you gain power over them. Now take those insights and redesign your workflow. Rebuild your fortress. Remove what weakens. Double what strengthens. The average man just tries harder. The Machiavellian man redesigns his battlefield, but the battlefield is still incomplete without a mission. A central, supreme mission. Something so large, so clear, so all-consuming it pulls every action into orbit. At the heart of every kingdom is a ruling obsession. That's what you need. Not a vague goal, not a checklist dream, a throne. And every task must either serve it or die. You can't pretend to be focused without this, because without that North Star, your efforts will scatter. You'll confuse movement for progress, action for achievement. So, what's your throne? Is it to become the highest-paid consultant in your niche? Is it to build a body that bends perception when you enter a room? Is it to write a book that outlives you? Whatever it is, make it sharp enough to bleed. Write it down, tattoo it in your schedule. Make it the filter for every yes or no. Because once your mission is in place, focus becomes automatic. It's no longer effort, it's obedience to purpose. But now, we confront your final enemy. And it's not time, it's not people, it's not distraction, it's you, your own mind. Machiavelli once said, "A man who conquers others but not himself is still a slave." And that's where most people fail. They build routines, they block apps, they set up systems, but inside they're leaking. Guilt, doubt, hesitation, all sabotaging the mission from within. That's the internal assassin. And he's charming. He whispers, "You're being too intense. You're doing too much. You've earned a break." You cannot negotiate with that voice. You must exile it. Crush it like a traitor. When you say no, feel no guilt. When you isolate, feel no shame. When you aim high, feel no fear. Because every time you obey that inner softness, your focus bleeds. This doesn't mean becoming emotionless. It means mastering emotional control. Because the man who rules his emotions rules his time. And the man who rules his time rules everything. Now comes the edge most people never train for: emotional immunity. This is the final layer that separates focused men from fragile ones. It's one thing to focus in silence in a calm room with your phone off and your coffee hot. But that's not where life happens. That's not the real battlefield. Real life happens under pressure, under conflict, in chaos. And that's where most men break. Because they never trained to focus under fire. Machiavelli didn't admire the calm man. He admired the unshakable man, the one who could maintain clarity while the ground split beneath him. So now you have to train for that. The insult on a bad day, the disappointing result after months of effort, the passive-aggressive text that sparks doubt. These aren't distractions, they're tests. And most people fail not because they're weak, but because they didn't train for the storm. So you start now. Every time something triggers, you practice the pause. 10 seconds of silence, 10 seconds of command. Label the emotion. That's fear, that's insecurity, that's pride. And then dismiss it. Not because it's not real, but because your mission is more real. Machiavelli knew the leader who reacts emotionally gives away power. Always. So you build the habit of stillness. And let's be clear, this doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become clear. You rise in stillness. While others get baited into drama, you rise. While others drown in feelings, you rise. While others spiral into what-if scenarios, you execute. That's the difference between momentum and collapse. Because every time you let a small emotional grenade detonate an insult, a delay, a piece of bad news, you shatter your concentration. You scatter your energy, and you give away leverage. Focus is currency. Emotional control is your vault. So here's how you invest wisely. Spend your attention only where the return is exponential. Conversations that build. ideas that scale, effort that compounds. Everything else ignore, ghost, mute, walk past. That's not apathy, that's strategic neglect. You're no longer seeking validation, you're allocating capital. And when you treat focus like capital, something that builds wealth when invested properly, you begin to ascend. Because now you're not just efficient, you're sovereign. Every glance, every thought, every breath, it all moves toward empire. But there's one more angle. Machiavelli wasn't just a theorist of personal power. He understood social dynamics. He knew that focus, when displayed publicly, becomes a form of control. Think about what happens when you're the only one in a group who doesn't reach for their phone. When you hold eye contact while others break it. When you speak less while others overshare. You create mystery. And mystery is power. People start to whisper, "What is he working on? Why is he so quiet? What does he know that we don't?" Your silence becomes a canvas for their projections, and their projections build your status. So use that. Don't explain your ambition. Don't justify your grind. Don't broadcast your every move. Let the silence build tension. Let your results speak at volume 1000 while your mouth stays shut. People fear what they can't decode. They respect what they can't distract. Be that person. Let focus be your disguise and your sword. But here's your greatest threat now, association. The people around you. You could be building the fortress of your mind, training like a strategist, executing like a king, but if you spend your time around the unfocused, their chaos becomes yours. Machiavelli warned the wrong advisors ruin the strongest rulers. Same with your circle. You don't need cheerleaders. You need assassins, people who sharpen you, who respect silence, who feed your mission without ego. Anyone who breaks your rhythm, even if they smile while doing it, is a silent saboteur. Cut the leeches. That includes the charming ones, the ones who always just need 5 minutes, the ones who laugh at your discipline, the ones who reward your softness. You don't need energy vampires. You need allies who move like shadows and build like architects. One right person can increase your focus tenfold. One wrong person can kill it in a day. Choose wisely. Choose coldly. Now here's a Machiavellian move most people won't see coming. Trap yourself into discipline. Declare your mission publicly. Set a countdown. Tell people you're building something massive. Put your name and timeline out there. Not for clout, for pressure. Now your ego is on the line. Now failure is embarrassing. Now your identity has something to protect. That's leverage. You don't stay focused because of willpower. You stay focused because you've raised the stakes. You've made excellence the only option. And Machiavelli would love this, because he understood people don't stay disciplined through self-love. They stay disciplined through strategic fear. So make fear your ally. Let it lock you in. Bet money, bet status, bet your name. Because when failure stings, your focus sharpens. Now distraction isn't tempting, it's treason. That's how powerful men build under pressure. They raise the floor so high that slipping becomes deadly. No fallback, no soft landing, just the mission and the consequence. But here's the final wall of the fortress, silence. Operate without noise, not just sound, but updates, justifications, endless explanations, the constant narration of what I'm working on to people who will never understand. Stop telling people your plan, just execute it. Machiavelli's greatest power didn't come from what he said. It came from what he didn't say. You must do the same. Make your grind invisible. Make your rise silent. And when people finally see it, it's already too late. And yes, you will fall. You will lose focus. You will waste days, even weeks. But here's the rule, never miss twice. 1 distracted hour, recover. 1 unfocused day, recalibrate. No stories, no guilt. Just return to the fortress. Just keep building. That's the difference. Most people fail and spiral. You fail and return. That's what makes you unstoppable. Machiavelli believed that most leaders failed not because of enemies, but because of short-sightedness. They couldn't see beyond the immediate crisis. They couldn't zoom out. You must always maintain the eagle view. While others panic about today, you must be preparing for the decade. While they hustle, you position. Because true focus isn't just about attention. It's about placement, about knowing exactly where and when to strike. That's how you rise without noise and dominate without apology. And now you've crossed into territory most never reach. You've moved beyond concentration, past habit, far from hacks and surface-level motivation. This is psychological warfare. Focus in the Machiavellian sense is not just about improvement, it's about command. It's about wearing discipline like armor. It's about turning your attention into a sharpened blade that cuts through time, noise, and weakness. You're no longer a man trying to get better. You are a prince operating in the shadows, watching, planning, executing, while the world spins in chaos. But there's still one final piece. Because even with all this structure, all this pressure, all this targeting, if you don't install emotional control, your focus will crack. The world has infinite ways to bait you. You'll be rolling locked in, building something magnificent, and then a small insult knocks you off course. A bad number on a spreadsheet, a rejection email, a missed deadline, one sarcastic comment from someone who doesn't matter. And now you're unraveling, not because you're weak, but because you didn't train for the fire. Focus is easy in isolation. When life is calm, when your phone's off and the vibe is perfect, that's not the battlefield. That's the warm-up. The real war begins when your environment burns, when people panic around you, when delays pile up, when doubt leaks in. That's the test. Can you still move precisely, coldly, deliberately when the system breaks? That's what Machiavelli would call the strategist's edge. The ability to remain composed when the world loses its mind. Not frozen. Not passive. Composed. Calculating. In control. So how do you train for that? You begin by separating emotion from reaction. You label feelings, but you don't obey them. You feel the wave, but you don't surf it. A comment triggers envy. You name it, that's envy. A slow result tempts doubt. You call it out, that's insecurity. And then you discard it, like a surgeon tossing a dull blade. Machiavelli didn't teach rulers to be unfeeling. He taught them to be unruled by feelings. Because once your emotions start driving, your attention swerves, your focus bleeds, and your edge goes dull. Remember, attention is currency. You only have so much of it, and the more you spend on petty arguments, passive-aggressive subtext, digital slot machines of drama, the poorer you become. Focused people aren't just better at working, they're better at withholding. They don't give away their eyes, their ears, or their energy easily. Their presence is rare, and that rarity becomes reputation. Machiavelli knew the prince who is constantly seen becomes common. The prince who is occasionally seen and always purposeful becomes feared, respected, followed. So track where your attention flows. Audit it like an accountant audits gold. Ask yourself, did this conversation move me forward? Did this click give me power? Did this reaction make me money, clarity, or control, if not eliminate it? Or delegate it, or delay it indefinitely? Because every moment wasted on triviality is a betrayal of your empire. And your empire at this stage is fragile. You're still building, still rising. You don't have time for leaky buckets. Now let's talk about the most invisible leak: weak associations. Focus isn't just internal. It's environmental, and you cannot expect to build a castle while living in a swamp. You might be on fire, but if you keep sitting next to wet logs, don't be surprised when your flame dies out. Machiavelli warned, surround yourself with people who understand your ambition or be destroyed by those who don't. That means auditing your circle, not for comfort, but for calibration. Who sharpens your edge? Who reminds you of your throne when you forget? Who makes you more precise just by existing in your orbit? Keep them. Everyone else filter distance, silence, especially the charming distractors. the ones who seem harmless, who smile while pulling you off your path. Cut them, even if they mean well, because good intentions don't build empires. Alignment does. This is the focus leech effect. One unfocused person can sap days of your energy with just a few offhand comments, a few doubts, a few invites to mediocrity. You need people who move like assassins, who build quietly, ask better questions, and don't flinch at your intensity. Allies, not anchors. And now trap yourself again. Machiavelli loved traps, not just for enemies, but for allies, and most importantly, for yourself. So set one now. A commitment so public, so irreversible that your ego must deliver. Declare your launch. Tell the people. Set the date. And make sure enough people hear it that not delivering becomes socially painful. This isn't vanity, this is leverage. This is how kings corner themselves into greatness. When escape is removed, effort becomes absolute. That's the trap. That's the game. And here comes the final paradox. The truly powerful man, the one with fortress-level focus, strategic targeting, emotional immunity, and a clean environment, is also silent. Not just because he's hiding something, but because he no longer needs noise. Machiavelli didn't write The Prince for applause. He wrote it in exile after being broken, betrayed, nearly killed. And still he built something timeless. That's the real secret. You don't need attention. You are attention. Your moves become magnetic not because you advertise them, but because they can't be ignored. So build your system of silence. Let your actions echo louder than your words. Speak only when necessary. Reveal only what earns you leverage. Let people feel your presence through what you withhold. And when they finally notice you, when they realize you've been building something dark, powerful, and precise, it's already too late. And yes, you will fail again. You'll scroll, you'll slip, you'll miss a week. But the rule remains, never miss twice. 1 hour, wasted return. 1 day gone, reboot. 1 spiral, stand up. You don't mourn the distraction. You don't explain the delay. You return to the throne. That's what separates kings from dreamers. One gets distracted and disappears. The other gets distracted and returns sharper. That's your identity now. Because now you see the system. You no longer grind blindly. You position. You operate from above. You ask bigger questions. Not, how can I focus today? But where am I going? Not what task is urgent, but what move shifts the whole game. You're not chasing to-do lists anymore. You're building infrastructure, commanding rhythms, bending reality. That's the final form of focus. It's not about locking in. It's about aiming like a sniper and moving like a king. Quiet, calculated, unapologetic.